Welcome to Bridging the Gap, If These Walls Could Talk. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining the show. I have with me Zita, our co-host of the show. Welcome, Zita.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. And then we've got a guest on today, Sevon, who I've been chasing on social media for some time. He's got a great presence there. Do you want to introduce yourself? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Jimmy. My name is Sevon Norman, owner, general contractor of KB Contracting Services, KBCS.
Awesome.
Yes.
Appreciate you joining us today. Thank you. Thanks for being on.
Yes. Nice to meet you.
So I'm curious, I follow your social media. We'll start there because I'm interested in hearing, your thoughts around social media. I know you're pretty active, kind of curious to learn about your business, but I'm more interested in talking about your social media platform to start.
Sir. Yes, sir. So our social media platform, man, it was a stress point at first because I started it as a self-made point. I didn't hire no camera guy. I kept it all underneath myself. I'm very picky on a few things, and I'm very good on time management. So as soon as I want to get a video done, I'm like want to post as soon as I edit the video. But as far as the social media presence, what it does is it took us to the next level. We started the business off as a word of mouth business.
Okay.
Word of mouth, staying in the community. But when we started doing content and showing our before and after, showing the job actually getting done and completed, it just took us to the next level, because that's a hard thing to find in a contracting business nowadays, finding a contractor to start the job and actually finish the job the right way. So when we were showing that and also showing the quality work we were doing for certain people in the city, take pictures with the right person. And, they are also giving us a nice review on how the work went and how our relationship went. It just shows a lot as far as the community seeing that KBCS is the real deal.
Yeah.
So that helped the presence as far as when people did see the real deal, it just grew and took us to the next level, and then took off from there.
Yeah.
Just took off from there.
Zita, I know you guys do a ton of content on Lux as well as your realty page. So,
Yes.
I think the thing that I would suggest is it gives you validation. It validates what you do and who you work with, I think, first and foremost. But we always say it really accelerates the relationship for people who don't know you.
Yes.
It does. I mean, it really invites people into your space, and the behind the scenes that are so important. And I know even myself, I'm trying to get better at it, right? Because I think that for myself, we're very much customer focused, right? So everything we do, our end game is for the customer. So it's hard to shift that thought a little bit to let's make it focused on me so I can show you,
Yes.
right? So it's
Yes.
reverse engineering it. But I think when you do that, it's amazing how quickly that shifts, because I never focused my business in all the years I've been doing it in real estate for online. I really made it for a presence for myself as a landing page for people to get there to say, Zita's credible. Zita's someone relatable. Zita's someone that she gets the job done and does it really well. It has shifted it to letting other people come into my space and reach out, not just look and watch from a distance. They're still doing that, right?
Yes.
But now for people to feel comfortable as a friend to reach out and say, hey, I saw X, Y, and Z,
Right.
and I love what you're doing and I want to be part of it. Or would you be interested in representing us? Before, that didn't exist in my world, before really being present on social media. But it's amazing how much that can shift when you make people feel invited into your space.
Yes.
And then reach out, and it's free, right? It's the best form of advertising, right?
And like I have a thing of saying, I feel like every platform is for somebody. So never feel like nobody's watching or anything like that. Every platform is for somebody.
Sure.
Somebody's watching.
They are watching. And the fact that you started that early and you're a direct result of like having your business, grow exponentially by inviting people into your world, it gives you lots of credibility and opportunity. So that's awesome.
I think for us, I would say it's 5 or 6 months that I've followed you on social, and I've never met you in person, so this is the first time. So, I'm trying to get out in the field, and I like to do, especially once the weather changes, I get out and do job site content. So I just dropped a note to him and said, hey, you have some job sites I can get to. I want to come out and capture some content for our social and for my social platform. So, people see like, hey, Jim's out in the field talking to people. It's important for me to be reflected on social media, being engaged. And, a lot of people don't see that behind the scenes. So you throw a couple pictures out and they go, oh, yeah, he was out with a guy that was building a kitchen. Or, I ran into last week, I was out in the field doing some stop-ins. I had a scheduled meeting and I drove past Monticello's, and when I did, I see this fleet of HVAC trucks, and I'm like, wait a minute, that was a restaurant. Like, I thought it was a business. And I did a double take, and I turned around and I ended up driving back, and I pulled into the parking lot, and there were a couple guys in the trucks, and I went up, the guy rolled his window down. I said, you guys having like a big kickoff meeting or something here? What's going on? He's like, oh, yeah, we do. This is all of our service technicians. I said, well, there's like 15 or 16 trucks here. Like, how many people are in the field? He goes, oh, I think we have like 65.
Wow.
I said, oh, okay. I said, where's the rest of everybody? He's like, oh, this is just the one group of, the installers. And I said, okay, well, who do I talk to about getting out in the field with you guys and doing content? Because it was unique. They had full white outfits on, white shirt, white pants, like super clean looking. Everybody was branded, unique, really good, information that people would see like, oh, that looks like somebody I'd do business with. I've never seen them before. And, they have 16 of these trucks that are right in front of me as I'm driving down the street. Otherwise, I would have never. But this morning, coming into the office, one of their vehicles was at the Sheetz gas station that I was pumping and filling up at. And I'm like, wait, those were the guys that I just saw. So,
eye catcher.
yeah. So like once you see it, again, kind of connecting that to social media, you see that presence and go, oh, I know them. And then you start to see it. It's like, they always say red cars, right? You think about a red car and then you start seeing all the red cars that are out there. Same things.
Absolutely.
Like, let me ask you this.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
curious, on your social media, is there a theme that you like to try to stick to convey your brand? Or like, do you just kind of throw random stuff on? Like, what's your thought process as you're doing content?
So I am very picky. I just try not to throw anything on there because people are picky. And then I have also a lot of contractor friends that are watching. So it's important to throw the right things on there. Again, I try to teach my social media presence as a producer. I'm the general contractor. I'm the editor. I'm the producer, the whole nine. So I try not to just throw anything on there. I see a whole lot of social media platforms sometimes have like 3,000 posts, and I'm like, dang, no wonder why they are at this point in their career. But I look at mine and I'm like, if you look at each post, it's very
Intentional.
right? Intentional. We're even now are getting into the breakdown of the job. So when we demo the bathroom, we're showing the demo point, the prep point, and the finish point. So we're starting to get into more of the full review of the job site, so that way the progression of the job site, so they can have a feel of what's going on. We're going to start doing more voiceovers as well, but more so importantly, it's important to not just throw anything out there. That's my main thing. I try not to just not make content and just post it. It has to have a reason behind it.
Okay.
And it has to make sense. If not, I'll maybe save it into my drafts and maybe use it as a reel or a post down in the future if I feel like it's not worth it.
Gotcha.
But sometimes it has to have an intentional reason behind the post.
Yeah. So take me through this. And I know we talked briefly about it, but you are using social media to network with other contractors across the country and make connections to learn from them and, follow them. So tell us about that.
So soon we are going on I won't say a contractor tour, but I have a few cities that I have to visit. And while I am visiting those cities, I'm going to network with the other contractors that I am already following. They've been following me for the past 3 or 4 years. So we're going to Chicago, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Texas as well, to just network with other contractors, also real estate agents. I have a family member that owns a pretty big time real estate company in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm going to go down. We don't even know we're cousins, and just networking through social media, seeing how big his last name was, Norman. And I'm like, Norman. So we put ties together, and we got family from Alabama down south, and we're going to go down there and network, and hopefully I can get my Georgia license down there, maybe do some work down there in Georgia.
Nice.
We already have been doing some project management, overseeing some jobs, helping people out that had questions about their contractors, and they just liked what we're doing. So they just wanted me to oversee the job site. But yeah, that's what we're doing. We're traveling to network with different contractors, just to see their culture, how they do things, how do they stay busy.
Yeah.
And that's not to show jealousy. You know, contracting is a big game of jealousy and hatred.
It's a lot of ego.
A lot of ego. And I did not get this far from having a big ego and having a big pride issue or anything like that. I'm real big on asking questions and becoming an Indian before a chief. So I'm real big on that.
I love that. I mean, I think that, it's amazing what social media can do in the sense that people feel like they know you before they know you.
Yes.
And the connections that you can make, it really can change the game.
Absolutely.
So tell me, where's your source of, how did you get started?
Okay.
What do you do?
Yes.
And like, what's important to you?
So how I got started was in 2016, I had my son, and I was bouncing from warehouse to warehouse from time, just a normal, working man. And one thing about the warehouse, it's a very content job. Before you know it, you're thinking you're going to work in a warehouse for 1 or 2 years. Before you know it, you're there for 10 years plus. So I was tired of working in a warehouse. So I said, I got to make a change. And I became a laborer at a company in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. I moved down there to get my life together. And I started at a company as a laborer. They gave me a chance. And talking to my friends up here, money's different from PA than it is in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So driving a forklift, hearing my friends saying they're driving a forklift making $17 an hour, and I'm a laborer in North Carolina only making $12 an hour. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. And so I went to my boss and I said, hey, can I get a raise? Like, you see me busting my tail out here. I mastered the labor position. And he told me the next step up is becoming a concrete finisher.
Okay.
So before becoming a concrete finisher, I had to learn. And so what I sat back and did, obviously, if I want more money, I have to learn a skill position.
Right.
So what I did was I sat back and I learned and watched, ask questions of how to become a finisher. And from there, I just took my finishing test. I took my concrete finisher test from my concrete manager. He asked me the right questions, how to pour concrete, the right set of concrete, different type of slopes and the whole nine. What happens if this happens? Different scenarios of being in trouble. How do you go if this happens? And if a customer starts acting up. So he just gave me different scenarios, passed all that. So from there, I became a concrete finisher, was there at the company still for another year, had my baby, and my family moved back to Pennsylvania. I did stay in North Carolina to continue working, but it was time to move back to Pennsylvania. When I moved back, I joined the union. I got my chance in the union. And you know how things go in the construction world. They really didn't care, especially the union. They didn't care about my resume or like, hey, I'm a concrete finisher. I do this, I do that. He was like, look, bring your tools. Come here Monday and we'll see what you got. So I got there on Monday. First thing he did when I walked in there was, wow, I've never seen a black cowboy before. Cause, I walked in with some confidence and swagger. I got the same type of boots I have on now, and this is before the cowboy era got popular.
You brought it to Pittsburgh,
right. And all of a sudden, everybody wants to have the boots and stuff like that. So,
trendsetter. We already know this from your social media.
Yes. So, people were teasing me at first, about wearing a Cowboys. Like, what are you doing? What you got going on? I was like, hold on. I was down South Carolina and North Carolina for 5 years, so I got adapted to that lifestyle and went from there. So. From my first day being in the union, I had the little tryout. They put me on the basement floor, and then the next day they put me on a hospital floor. And I wasn't sitting back just being a regular finisher because I knew I might get still overlooked, especially as a black man. Like, who are you? People at the company's kind of been there for 20 plus years, 30 plus years, but they still needed finishers. Can never go wrong with a lot of finishers, especially in a union and where I was working at. So I voluntarily asked them for the bow float. We was on a 600-yard pour at one of the hospitals in Pittsburgh. And I was like, hey, can I get the bow float? And, they knew I was trying out. So they was like, you know what you're doing? Got out there, had like 6 poles on it. Started working it. They was impressed. So by the time I got back, put me on a crew, and it went from there.
Okay.
Went from there. So I was in the union for a good solid 3 years. Obviously I was the youngest on the crew.
Yeah.
24, 25 at the time, and everybody else a little older. So they went by, seniority,
Yep.
and so on and so forth. So I was laid off, but still working 2 days a week, 3 days a week, doing the unemployment. But after like the third year, something was just telling me to try something. I already had a big social media presence from my name,
Okay.
personal name. What helped out a lot also, I've been in 3 different communities through my lifetime. Hopewell, PA, Aliquippa, PA, and Rochester, PA. So I've been in 3 different communities growing up. So that helped out a lot. And I was like, let me try something. Started a business, my LLC, came up with my name, named the company after my son.
Okay.
Because that was my reason why. And I posted it on Facebook, and it took off. I got like 100 and something likes and reactions, probably 20 something shares. And people already knew me as the concrete guy.
Uh-huh.
I knew me. I was already making content before I started the company. And from there, when I made the post that, hey, I'm starting my own company, I got my first job within like 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
And my first estimate, I think it was like $900. Concrete wasn't that bad like 7 years ago.
Uh-huh.
So what he wanted me to do, I only charged him $300 in concrete. The rest was for labor and materials. And it went well. And it just went from there. Started, posting content, advertisement. Hey, you guys will need concrete done, small repairs, big repairs. And it just slowly started climbing. Also, I went to church, a church boy as well. So I went to many different churches over time.
Yeah.
So as you see, I'm a community guy. People ask me, how do I stay busy? Over time throughout my life, I've been around many different areas and many different people. So that was pretty much how I got started and my reason why.
Okay.
Yep.
We always say, if you know your reason why, then you're never going to give up.
No.
That's it.
It's definitely, and you've got a great one, right? You're probably working to create a legacy for your son and,
Yes, sir.
give him something to take over at one day.
And I recently had another baby, and it's crazy because, it's like, okay, you want to take off, you had another baby, need more money, more sources of income, so on and so forth. And it's like, wow, I had another baby, and God just blessed the company even more. And now we got our first big commercial job, remodeling a school. We completed that. And now we're remodeling another school. And it's like, since I had another baby, it's just like more and more work has been coming, bigger jobs, bigger resources, and bigger networking events.
Maybe you need to have another baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe, I guess,
Right?
it's like, I guess the more babies you have, God blesses you more and more. So it's like,
Well, you've invited that into your life, and that's why you get it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that's amazing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So run me back through. You made a couple comments. I jotted some notes down.
Yeah.
So you talked about learning a skill, and you're open to learning a skill. So you were just talking about doing an event in the U.S. Steel building.
Yes.
Tell me about that and what that experience was like.
So I am in some entrepreneur classes at the Pitt CEC in Homewood, and also the Hill District as well. Shout out to Bernard for giving me the resources and putting me where I need to go and taking me to where I need to be. And he gave me the resources to take some classes for the Turner's construction management classes on the U.S. Steel Tower building downtown on the 35th floor. And that was just a big opportunity for me because as we're transitioning into the the commercial real estate of remodeling, it's important for me to know what's going on fully around commercial. I pretty much understand the residential standpoint of things. But as I transition and are starting to get calls and bigger jobs of commercial, I needed to know about the commercial phases. So it wasn't a pride thing in me to have like, you know what, I could just go on YouTube and learn about commercial, or I could call my older contractor friends that's been in the game for 40 years and ask them questions. Sometimes they get a little arrogant and so on and so forth. So let me go take classes. It was a 6-7 week course classes, and I learned from estimating job sites, reading commercial blueprints. Yes, I know how to read residential blueprints,
right,
but not commercial.
Okay.
How to run commercial job sites, the right material to use for certain job sites. You can't use home remodel,
right,
material in certain commercial. So I had to learn that. Also learning how to deal with certain customers, learning construction law,
Okay.
civil issues. We actually had a little civil issue, and it was just learning things to see the red flags before the red flags occur.
Yeah.
So just learning things about the courses and classes, that was just a big thing. And I think for us, and I think what that's going to do is a lot of people is going to look at it like, really, he took courses, he took classes. I thought he should know all this stuff. But it's not about that. It was for us transitioning to commercial, and all that's going to do is take us to the next level in 6 years.
Yeah. So interesting that you say that. I think learning is ongoing, right? I mean, Zita, in your trade, you do it too,
Always.
right? I mean, it's
if you stop learning, you
right.
stop growing.
Yes,
you have to continue to learn.
Absolutely.
And learn from other people at both ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
Right.
And hearing their story as well, like hearing people's stories and their mistakes, that's what helped me out a lot. Like I hear horror stories in contracting, and they're like, "Oh, it's okay. You could get past that. Just deal with." I'm like, no, I never want that to happen to me. Like, my dream is to be in business for 40 plus years and to hopefully one day remodel for clients like Dr. Phil, Oprah, anybody, different race from all over. That's my dream, is to take over from any call I get, just to.
So if you think it, you'll do it. So
that's it.
Don't give up on.
You have to visualize. You have to visualize. And visualizing, I always say that's half the battle. I think a lot of people, you might have it here, but you have to visualize it. You have to write it down. You have to, like, I have my board, and if I don't put each customer on the board, it can escape your mind.
Right.
And it's like, you don't want to just have the feeling here today and it's gone tomorrow. When you put it on your board, whatever your vision board is, and whether yours is in a book or you put it up on a calendar or post it, or maybe it's social media, whatever it is, when you speak it and you see it, it becomes a reality.
Absolutely.
And just how do you get there? Right. So, cause it's not going to happen overnight, but the consistency of it and that vision and being a good person, all of those things combined will get you there.
And you know what's crazy? There's always networking events and resource events, and they're free sometimes in this city. And it's crazy to walk in and see only 25 people, right? 40 people. And I'm like, y'all ask me, how do I stay busy? I got people following me on social media. Yes, they follow me, but when they actually sat down and met me, it's like, wow, you're like a different breed. I met a guy at a real estate event 3 weeks ago, and we signed a contract for over $80,000 this week.
Yeah.
And he'd been following me for social media probably about the past 2 years. But he finally sat down with me, was like, can you pull permits? Can you do this? Can you do that? I'm like, yeah, I'm the real deal. Like, I don't know who you've been dealing with. I don't know who you've been.
You were your friend before they were your friend. Now you're like really friends.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So I don't know who he was dealing with before, but I was like, yeah, we pull permits. I'm like, I named a few job sites, you know, that we worked on before. Like, we remodeled schools, we worked at hospitals, worked at banks. I named a few real estate companies. Like, we worked for real estate companies as well. So like, far as like $1 million insurance, pulling permits, and the whole nine, we're serious. Yeah. We're serious. So it was just, you know, far as when you get out and actually meet people, because again, some people look at social media as a lie. He's pump faking, or it's not true. So that's why too, we are actually starting something to involving our customers more into the social media point of showing the review. How did the job go? How was the customer experience? And also sometimes explaining the pricing of the job. We just remodeled a lady's bathroom. They said a contractor came in and said $25,000, and the bathroom is so small. It's literally small. And we came in and did it for 10. Materials included. Did it in, we knocked it out in a week. Okay. He told her 3 weeks. So it's just different things, and that's why it's always important to get 3 estimates. You know, sometimes as contractors, we hate that. We go to a job site, give an estimate, like, when you want to start? What's your budget? And then sometimes we get upset, like hearing, well, I got to go with 2 other people first. Sometimes you got to have that confidence, like, you know what? I gave off the right price to take care of my crew, my family, and the company, and take care of the material, but also, just to know that you're staying honest and you're taking care of the community, right? The community can take care of you. The integrity goes a long way, right? Absolutely. You're always doing the right thing. Like I tell my kids growing up, always do the right thing, because you never know who's watching.
same mindset. You're out there bidding a job. You don't know that could be a referral into a commercial property that's, $500,000 from a $10,000 bathroom, right?
Correct.
I mean, if you're always giving them the right price based on the job, you're not trying to gouge somebody. You're not trying to retire on one job. You're going to get rewarded. And I think that really is relative to just you as a person, right? So, we say like it accelerates the relationship by being on social media. So it took them how long to actually meet you in person? And then when they did, they're like, oh yeah, this is the same dude that I watch on YouTube.
Yes.
Here's my checkbook, right? They were ready.
Right. They were
because
ready.
they already knew you.
Yes.
It didn't take another 3 months to get to know you or interviewing others.
Absolutely. And what helps out big too, when you are true to yourself, people told me like, hey, you need a website. I had a few people call me and wanted to check you out, but they was trying to look you up and you didn't have a website. And I'm blessed to never had to have a website. I had like a little portfolio before website thing, but I did it, so it wasn't the best. But I'm proud to say like, hey, look me up on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X, because I really don't have to have a website. In the future, I would definitely love to have one and get one done. But it's like I really didn't have to get one done. And I'm blessed to have that honor. But I know I definitely need one.
Well, if there's anyone listening out there that wants to sponsor your website, that could get the credibility for that.
Because we definitely have a beautiful portfolio, and the before and afters are amazing.
So for me, I always look for a website as a landing space to direct me to social media for a contractor.
I'm with you there.
I like that.
I want to see what they're doing.
Yes.
The website is always cookie cutter. It's always, stock photos.
Sure.
Very seldom is it a picture of them and their family and telling their why story. Like I think a lot of times when contractors build a website, they want to camouflage it as, oh, I'm just like everybody else. You want to be different than everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Be unique and stand out. If you're putting the right information there, that draws people to you more frequently, the right people, right? And then social media, you hit the website that lands you to get to the social platforms. I can't tell you how many contractors I click on their website. I click on their link to Instagram and it takes me to just Instagram proper, not to a profile. So they have a link there, but they don't have a profile set up for it.
Okay.
The same thing, like, okay, here's their Facebook. And I'm like, okay, well, where's your Facebook? Nothing's coming up. So, they don't leverage the links that they've actually embedded there to get to the good content. And that's them telling their story. You talking about having another son, having, another baby. And, that's what's driven your business. Yes. And that's kind of where you tell that is on social media.
Yeah, and people respect those values, right? And it makes you relatable too. It's not just about the job. Yes. It's about your family, and your why is why others are going to connect to you and want to work with you.
So
and support you.
As we wrap things up here, I'm going to ask you, so bridging the gap, if these walls could talk. So I'm curious, what have the walls said to you on a job site, something that was unique that you've either found in a building, you're doing a demolition, or you're doing a remodel, or you're doing something in a commercial space? Like, what's something that stood out to you that is unique and different that you'd like to tell us about?
Keep going. Just keep going. And just remembering that it's all about the community. When I focus on it's not about just me, that's when things scale. And just seeing how things work out when we start from, again, demoing a property and seeing the finish. I kind of see that resemble to a life sometimes. Sometimes you have to demo your whole entire character in your life and start completely over and a fresh start and bring yourself back together again and renovate your whole lifestyle, your body, lifestyle, your character, and renovate it. And now you have a new finish and $1 million property.
There you go.
$1 million property.
Awesome. Well, it's been a great show. I appreciate you being on. Zita, thanks for co-hosting again. As always, it's great to have everybody here. Stay tuned for the next episode of Bridging the Gap.